Okay, I'm starting to stream right now. Let's start off with this. You know, I get a lot of promos, and I know you do too. So everybody knows Vitek, Nabi is the editor-in-chief of MetalWani.com, a wonderful, metal website, a global website, of course, based in India. And like you, I get promos every single day, and I get, just fed so many promos. And sometimes when you're getting ready to review an album, you listen to it all week, and you're kind of like, I got to listen to it. And you listen to the back catalog and you go, do I really have to do this? But in Annihilator's case, to me, it was a pleasure. Wow, the new album from Annihilator. And I just keep listening to it, and I listen to the back catalog. I always enjoy reviewing Annihilator because I love the band. I don't know. What are your thoughts about reviewing the new Annihilator album, just quickly?
Well, the new one is a return to form, personally for me, because I was extremely disappointed with the previous album. I think it was one of the most terrible ones in the Annihilator catalog. I don't know why he did it. He admits it, but personally for me, this album is return to form. Some really good songs out there, a perfect sense of thrash and melody.
Okay, all right. For me, actually, I'm quite the opposite of you. I really like Suicide Society due to popular, popular opinion. Maybe not. I think the Annihilator fans are so split on the last album. But I even put it on yesterday to get a sense of where are they today versus where they were last time. And I got to say, it's a great album. At least I really like this album. So let's just break it down now. It has 10 songs and one instrumental. So actually it has 9 songs. The production, agree with me or not, it's similar to the last album in terms of just overall production. What do you think?
Yeah, there's nothing much has changed from the last record when it comes to production. There's one thing which really irks me about Annihilator is Jeff, being a main songwriter, he's also taken care of he's taken care of the producer chair this time as well. So I feel he has to get an outside producer who can tell him that, the parts which can be improved. I feel Jeff is.
But wait, Vitek, I gotta step in here. Just so you know that Rich Hinks co-produced the album with him. So actually,
yes.
Go ahead.
Yes, I'll come to that.
Go ahead.
So the reason I'm telling you this is because the last few albums, Jeff has been on the producer chair for years. And I always felt that he needs that external entity that can come and tell him that, no, this is not happening. You have to do this. Jeff, I feel, is so stuck in a box. If he thinks of doing something outside, he feels it may just go against him. And that's where Rich has come in this time. He has co-produced the album. And there are parts where, let's say, Jeff has written a riff that maybe sounds like a Slayer riff or something. Rich has told him very clearly that, no, not happening. You have to discard it. We got to come up with something fresh. So these ideas are something which I felt Annihilator were missing from past few records. And that's coming on this point of time. And I like that. But from an overall production point of view, it's still the same, except that we have one more person coming in and telling Jeff that, no, you are wrong. Let's do it this way.
I think it really helped. Last time around, it sounded more like a... I really like Suicide Society, but it sounded more like one guy doing everything. Exactly what you said. Exactly. But this time it sounds like a band is actually playing on this album, right? You get that sort of vibe of... And let me tell you, I'm not sure if you've seen him at Wacken in Germany, but holy crap, I saw them a few months ago. This is a killer band he has right now. Just so everybody knows, this is a killer. The sound quality on stage, the playing, the timing, just everything about this band from A to Z is killer. These guys are executing like there's no tomorrow on this band. Have you seen them live recently or not?
No, I have not. But I do. I can see that all the guys, other than Jeff, are all young, maybe 20 plus, 25.
Yeah.
When you have fresh blood in the band playing thrash, things are obviously going to be fast and energetic and so on.
Okay, so I'm going to play a clip from Jeff, and he talks about the overall sound of the album. And again, this is from the interview I did with him not too long ago. It's a very, very short clip, and we'll talk about the overall sound and which albums it sort of takes from this album. So everybody gets a sense of, okay, a reference point, right? Okay, here we go.
Right.
Here we go. Okay, you ready for this? Let me just get rid of your logos here so we could... hopefully, if you can hear this, everybody, just tell me and I won't play it anymore. The overall sound. Here comes Jeff. Here it comes. I'll tell you when it's over, Vitek.
What would you say, if you pick all the albums of your career, what is the mix of what it's going to sound like?
I'd say Alice in Hell and Set the World on Fire. Okay. I think those are the two. Probably the first three. Probably the first three records. It's got a little bit of the sort of melodic, hard rock, commercially side of metal we were doing on Set the World on Fire. It's got this sort of thrashy vibe of the Alice in Hell records. Not the song Alice in Hell, which was more melodic, more of the thrashier stuff. And then it's got some thrashy, melodic stuff of Never Neverland. So it wasn't intentional, but I did bring in our bassist, Rich Hinks, to work on the album with me and co-write the music.
All right. There we go. So I know you didn't hear that, Vitek, but it was basically Jeff saying that it's very similar to the first three albums. Would you agree or disagree that this new album is similar to the first three albums?
I wouldn't completely agree with that. There's a reason behind that. One being that the Annihilator has a sound which... No, let me put it this way. The first three records are the classic Annihilator albums. Any fan of Annihilator knows they're just like how Metallica have their first four records. It's on the same page for Annihilator as well. But if you compare it with For the Demented, I don't think it fits in that. To me, it's like an album that could possibly be a watered down version of the first three albums. I feel it stacks up somewhere at the fourth or the fifth, but definitely not from the first three. They're the classic sound, be it the production, the riffs, everything related to those three albums was top notch. With this, he's trying his best to get into that zone, but he is somewhere. There's a gap between the destination and where For the Demented is.
Okay, in my opinion, this is what I think. It's a continuation. If we're going to compare which albums it sounds like, it's a continuation of Suicide Society. It's an extension. Not an extension, an evolution from Suicide Society. So he has himself on vocals. He's extending, expanding, and it's a continuation, but a more of a positive, stronger continuation. And it's taking maybe the riffage and the thrashiness of the first album, something like Welcome to Your Death. You'll hear a lot of that sort of riffage, that fast-paced, dirty riffage. And it's taking the melodic side of Set the World on Fire, which I see that on a few tracks as well. And it's borrowing a lot from Suicide Society. And maybe just a glimpse of King of the Kill. I don't know if we want to call it groove rock in a sense.
Okay.
And that's, I think he's close. And I think that's pretty much what he was trying to say in a way, that this album it touches on the different albums in the past, or the first three, but it does not sound like Never Neverland to me. And I would agree with you there. It does not sound like Never Neverland.
And Jimmy, the first four albums were all different singers,
Agreed.
different styles, most importantly. So I don't think, I feel that copying is not even an answer to anything.
Yeah.
I feel he just wanted to go back and see what was more of, let's say, a Waters style versus what Waters liked to listen to that.
Yes.
So this is what I feel.
Yeah, okay. So let's talk about the vocals, and then we'll get into the songs after, okay? Hold on. Mm-hmm. So and again, I know you can't see this, but I will tell you what he says about the vocals, and I'm sure you have an idea. Here we go. I'm playing a clip.
What would you say vocally? Vocally, what is this coming out as? Like, if you pick all the albums in your career.
The last one we did is completely not like this one as far as vocals. Vocals was this sort of fan side of Waters coming out, so you had the Mustaine's and the Hetfield wannabe kind of stuff. Now it's back to the King of the Kill and the Alice in Hell vibe, where a lot of people don't know, but Alice in Hell and Never Neverland, I demoed and sang and wrote most of the songs on vocals way before we got singers.
Okay, so what he says is, and again, he says that it's less of the Mustaine Hetfield vocals, more of the Alice in Hell, King of the Kill vocals. So I think he's half right and half wrong. What do you think?
I'll give you an example.
Okay.
There's a song on the album called Pieces of You. Mm-hmm. And for me, it felt like an album straight out of Black Album. It was
Yes.
straight out of Black Album.
Metallica Black
I felt-
Album.
Exactly. I felt its Hetfield on vocals. I had to literally clean my ears to see, am I listening to Black Album or am I listening to For the Demented? And that's just one part of it, which I'm talking about. Yes, Jeff has worked a lot on his vocals. And I feel he is trying to get away from what he did on Suicide, the previous album. But he is still miles away, than what he basically is supposed to sound like. I feel he's trying to get away from it, and it has damaged his vocals, what he did on Suicide Study. If you think about it, when you listen to it, and now when you listen to For the Demented, you can clearly feel he's trying to get away from it, but it's not letting him go. He is still
That's a good way to put
stuck
it.
in that. It's still stuck with the Dave Mustaine-ish vibe, the nasal sort of a singing, and the bits and pieces of Hetfield over there. He's trying his best to get out of it, but it's somehow still there.
Yeah. And I think it has a lot to do with vocal range. And so he's a baritone, right? Dave Mustaine's a baritone. James Hetfield is a baritone. And Jeff Waters is a baritone. And when you're singing this type of thrash music as a baritone, everyone sort of comes out like that because you don't have those highs, right? You're not singing those highs. You're just kind of singing that lower gravelly register. So everybody kind of sounds like Metallica when they do thrash. So I agree with you 100%. He's trying to break away, but that's his voice, right? That's his voice, and his voice kind of sounds like them anyways, right?
There's one factor what I miss about Annihilator, and I'm sure there are fans out there who do the same. I miss Dave Padden. That guy was a beast.
I agree with you. He's a great singer.
He was a perfect candidate for Annihilator. And for whatever reason he left, and you got to move on. You got to accept the reality. I still miss him on vocals. His vocals on Feast were like ferocious to the point.
Agreed.
And the best I could hear from Annihilator. It's that element which is still missing. And I'm sure there are fans out there who may like the riffs, who may like the solos, who may like this arrangement of the songs. But when it comes to vocals, they still want Dave Padden on vocals.
I agree. I mean, I even like Randy Rampage, for that matter. Because Randy was like the beast on vocals. He just had a certain tone about his voice, off the first album, the second album too, right? But you're right, man. Dave Padden, man, he can do everything. He could do the gritty stuff. He could do the yelling, the extreme. And he could also sing, peaceful and soft, right?
And he's a great rhythm player as well. And he wrote a lot of leads as well. So the stuff that I hear on Feast and the previous album, it's top notch, man. I feel he has really contributed to Annihilator's success as well. But things have to move on. We just have to get used to Jeff Waters now.
I've interviewed Jeff multiple times, and one time I did ask him, I go, why don't you get another singer? I know everybody has asked him this question, right?
Yeah.
What about getting, because you guys are like an 8 or 9 out of 10 band, but if you got an amazing singer, you guys would be like a 10 out of 10 band. It would be an unstoppable machine. But, I think he's tired of always chasing after the singers and them sort of like leaving him, right? And I get that too, because he's got a band to run. And if everybody keeps abandoning him, he's kind of like, okay, enough of this. I'm just going to do it myself. And I get that. I would be the same way. Like, you got to do it yourself, right? Because everyone's sort of not there with you. And it wasn't his, Dave Padden left him. It wasn't the other way around, right? So I kind of feel bad for the guy, but overall, his vocals are pretty good on this album.
As compared to the previous one.
And as compared to the other ones in the past as well, right? He sings really good. Okay, here we're gonna talk about the guitar tone. All right, here we go. You ready for this? I know you can't hear this, but I will tell you. Here comes a guitar tone.
About guitar, okay. In the new album, what's the guitar tone like? Is there a lot of soloing, a lot of rhythmic playing?
Yeah.
What were you after on this new album?
It's kind of like I think the best of those first 3 records, but it's not a best of in the sense where you would say, let's do a song like that or like that. It's more of a best of in the vibe of it, what I was doing when I was writing those records, as far as what I was thinking. And I think that's where the difference is, because I had somebody there to steer me away from the typical stuff I'd been doing lately.
All right, so again, so what he's saying is, he's not trying to emulate or copy the first 3 albums. He's just trying to get a vibe. Did he succeed in getting a vibe on this new album with the first 3 albums? That's what he's pretty much saying. Just a vibe. He's not trying to steal. He's not trying to copy. He's just trying to get a vibe. Was he successful? What do you think?
I don't think so. It sounds somewhat like the first 3 albums. See, I'll tell you something about this album when it comes to the guitar tone. There are a lot of this. It's heavy. I can hear it. There are a lot of melodic vibes on this. I can give an example of altering the altar. That made me feel like it's 1984 all over again. I mean, he's bringing that ferocious sound and brings in that just enough melody that literally, it burrows deep into your brain. Yeah. And I feel that there are parts of this album that actually is more of a classical rock influenced banger. Let me put it that way. There's a lot of signature thrash elements in it, but Jeff is taking us a little bit back to 70s as well. I mean, there are bits and pieces I still feel that it's not only a raging thrash fest, but there's a lot of other things going on as well. He doesn't want to lose the element of melody. He doesn't want to write a complete thrash fest, but at the same time, he's bringing in these 70s elements, the classic rock elements into this, which is, for a fan, for a thrash metal fan, a lot to digest. Let me tell you that. Thrashers don't like that. Thrashers like it in your face without anything else. But he is a guy who's written a lot of songs, and obviously he doesn't care that I have to write only a thrash-specific album. So when it comes to guitar tone, he's very clear with the different influences that he brings in. And I like that. I mean, as a metalhead, I like things to be diverse, the sound to be diverse, the grooves on the record to be diverse. But at the end of the day, to an extent, he's been successful. But first 3 albums, I don't think so, man. Not even close.
Yeah. For me, anyways, you know what? I won't give you my opinion on that. Let's just go quickly through the song tracks list, okay? The track list on the album. And just give me your thoughts, and I'll just share my thoughts as well. So, the first single, Twisted Lobotomy. I love it. If you think of Welcome... Hey, what's that?
It's a banger of a song, man.
It
has to be on their set list. If he doesn't, I'm not going to watch it. That song is perfect for the set list, man.
I mean, to me, it's like Welcome to Your Death. It's got that vibe. And the guitar, and I'm going to tell you, on this whole album, the guitar work is 10 out of 10. The soloing on this album is excellent. Just excellent. So we agree both that Twisted Lobotomy is a thrasher, a banger,
Absolutely.
And it's just a great song, a great Annihilator song. All right, One to Kill. This is their second single that was released yesterday. Your thoughts?
Mm-hmm. It's a pretty good. It's a pretty good one. See, again, he has moved away. Like he didn't want 2 songs to be released having the same similar vibes. So he brought in some elements on this song, which I really like. But as compared to For the Demented, still one level below.
Okay. For me, One to Kill is another solid thrashing song. And it's got elements of King of the Kill, Alice in Hell. Again, Welcome to Your Death. When I say Welcome to Your Death, I don't mean it sounds like Welcome to Your Death. I just mean it's like a thrasher. It's similar to that vibe and that style, right? Anyways, I love it. And I love the chorus. It's very, very Metallica, Mustaine-ish. I'm not going to take. Now, For the Demented, here it comes. Now we're getting into some deep cuts. For the Demented, what are your thoughts on that? The third track.
Like I said, it's a 70s swagger, man. It's got this traditional groovy, stuff in it, and a sinister intro. I love that.
Yes.
A heavy chorus. Like I said earlier, that it's got a lot of classic rock influence banger, man, and this track is a perfect example of it.
Yeah, I would agree with you. The middle part, there's a keyboard kind of solo, right? And it kind of it gives that 70s organic feel to it, which is really cool. And that's what's great about Jeff Waters. He's not going to stick to thrash like you said. And you and me, we've heard enough music, and we kind of love bands that sort of break out of the box and just extend themselves and just take it to other places where people don't expect. And this is a song fans are not going to expect. Well, now they will, but it's not something where he typically goes, especially the middle part with the keyboards. It's really cool, a very creepy song. For the Demented, it's got, sort of like a very easy lyrical, I wouldn't call it, complicated lyrics, but, For the Demented is basically what the song title is. I could see Dave Padden singing on this song.
Perfect. Yeah.
And I would say it's more of a feast kind of track, if anything.
Yeah.
And it's an excellent track. I really dig it. And with repeat listens, you like it even more. All right, here we go. Here's the big one. And this is what you spoke about before. This is Pieces of You. So everybody knows the lyrical content on this album is about the mind. Jeff spoke about this. It's all about the mind, the craziness, the goodness, the addictions. And this song, and again, I don't have the lyric sheet. I think it's about cannibalism. It's about him eating his girlfriend, literally eating. I mean, what are your thoughts on Pieces of You? Piece of You.
Yeah, I said, he's always been open about the influences he draws from other bands in his writing, and it's not difficult for me to get what commercial bulldozer was he listening to when he wrote this song, because both his vocals and the instrumentation part definitely sounds like something right off the Black Album.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, the opening riff, it sounds like, and Nothing Else Matters, right? But he takes it. Actually, I think this is one of the best tracks on the album because it clocks at something at 6 minutes and 22 seconds. It's the whole midsection is something like from Never Neverland. And I guess I'll take back what I said. It's sort of like I don't know if the craft dinner, but this time we're having, people for supper. It's such a sincere song, the way he sings it. The riffs are such classic, wonderful, organic riffs, but then the message behind it all is actually quite humorous, right? He's kind of poking fun at the eating people sort of. And that's where another surprise for everybody. Well, I guess it's not a surprise anymore. Unbelievable track. Yes, this is the best song Metallica never wrote.
I like that.
Anyways, this is a great track. I think it has a Metallica flavor. It's not a Metallica song because the whole Metallica would never get so complicated in this song because it's stopping and going and it's just moving in different directions. Agree or disagree?
Yeah, to an extent.
To an extent. All right, so here we go. Next track. The Demons You Know. The Demons You Know. What do you think about that? That's sort of, it starts off like a talking part, like Symphony of Destruction by Megadeth or Peace Sells But Who's Buying, right? It really borrows from Megadeth there. Thoughts?
A pretty good track, a lot of grooves in it, and a sing-along chorus. And
yes.
The moment you said the name of the track, I could clearly hear the chorus in my head. So I like that. Sometimes it's good to have something, when you have a song being played on stage and fans sing along. I like that stuff. So this track is another example of writing a very solid chorus, and the intermediate section is also a pretty good one. I like the way the song shifts moods. So it's a pretty good track.
Yeah, I mean, again, it borrows heavily on Megadeth, if you ask me. Again, that's my personal opinion. And I think this is about alcohol abuse. The demons you know. It's just
inside you.
Inside you, right? And the guitar work, spectacular. Just friggin' spectacular. And the drums and the bass, solid. Just completely solid. Next song. Here we go. Now we're getting into a little bit of different territory, but familiar. So Phantom Asylum. What do you think about Phantom Asylum? Do you remember this one?
Yeah, this is an instant, it joins Twisted Lobotomy as an instant trasher. I like this because this comes into the later part, the second half of For the Demented, and I love how that seriously haunting intro starts, a little bit of a groove, and then you have the pit anthem. Dude, this one is gonna have the crowd being divided into two, and boom.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I like the song. I like it.
You know what's crazy about this song? And I don't want to give away the surprise. There's another surprise in this song. It's some sort of spaghetti western little guitar part right in the middle of it. It's down, 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 down. It's like a spaghetti western. Like you think, Clint Eastwood's going to come out, and high noon and shoot someone, right? So it's got a really, I don't know if but Jeff's got that sense of humor, right? He's kind of like, he'll throw in a little twist. And I guess I ruined the twist for everybody. But nevertheless, another really, really cool track.
Great song.
Does remind me of Megadeth. I mean, a vibe of Megadeth. Reminds me of the Feast era again. Maybe Dave Patton would be really good at this. And some extreme like vocals as well and tempo changes throughout the song. So I think the really hardcore Annihilator fans will really appreciate this.
Will dig this. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, here we go.
This one is
go ahead.
This one is a pretty good one for the live set.
Yes,
I
agreed.
feel this song is gonna do justice, and they're welcome additions to the set list.
Yeah, here we go. And now we're going to talk about the song you spoke about before, Altering the Altar. So tell me your thoughts again. Tell me it again. What do you think the song sounds like?
Once again, dude, both the Phantom as well as Altering, it's like I said, it is 1984 all over again. It's got that speed, that perfect melody, and the beauty of the song is it's stuck in your brain, and I can kind of hum it, even though it's a thrasher, and I suck at humming, but I like it because it's a memorable song, and it's a perfect one for live. It's got a great hooks in it and a lot of killer riffs, and it's not just one riff being repeated all over and again. I find a couple of riffs in this which are really memorable. So this is Jeff Waters at its prime, and I'm sure as a thrasher, if he would have written songs like this throughout this album, I may have been a little bit disappointed, but I like that he has mixed this track at the later part and giving it a sort of a vibe that the second half is even more powerful than the first half.
You know what? This would and you made mention of this before. This is another vibe of Metallica, and this is where he doesn't veer away from the Metallica influence. In fact, it sounds very much like a Metallica song, and you could actually hear a Master of Puppets. This could have easily fit on Master of Puppets. And Jeff he's not going to lie, he's heavily influenced by Metallica and Megadeth. He loves the bands, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. I would definitely say this would be a song also off Suicide Society. This would fit well on that album as well. It's got a vibe of it. I don't know. I mean, play the album, play it side by side, and you kind of hear that it belongs there as well. Maybe it's an extension to that album. That's just my opinion. All right, here we go.
Okay.
Now we're going to get into something a little bit different. The Way. Okay? The Way is kind of like the oddball of the whole album. Your thoughts?
Yeah, it's different. What's the biggest problem of this album? It's the running order. And it might be a minor point for a lot of people, but I feel as a songwriter, Jeff has years of experience, and you come to a point where you can clearly have an order in such a way you don't want fans to have a complete thrash set, then suddenly drive down, then again. There has to be a certain order in which an album is basically conceptualized. That's where I felt this song is somewhere missing. It's been put into, I don't know, I could have felt that, like even, I think you're going to talk about even Dark as well, which is again a misplaced song. It could have been a better intro to the album than somewhere being stuck in the middle. So this song is a pretty decent one, but again, ordering problem. It just comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, I would say more of, I agree with you. It comes out of nowhere. It's an oddball track. It's something like Van Halen would do. I don't know. It's got the fan. If you listen really carefully at the end of the song, it has like fans clapping. I guess it was meant to be a live song, and it sounds like more of a rock and roll song than a heavy metal song. It really, if there's any song that kind of fits a vibe, I would say King of the Kill, which was more like basic song structures. Mm-hmm. It would fit more there than anything else, but it doesn't have that groove rock sense. Just more of a rock and roll song, which a real oddball, like a B-side, a sort of a good B-side to a single, maybe.
An extra track or something.
Yeah, an extra track. However, still good. I mean, very enjoyable and very melodic and listenable. Now, here's the weird one. Here's like this. You just talked about this. The Dark. It's like, it's not even an instrumental. Right?
I don't know, man. It's got this haunting synth sort of it's that.
Yeah, that spaghetti thing I was talking about on Phantom Asylum.
So
I think it would have more fit at the beginning of Phantom Asylum than actually the beginning of Not All There, the next track.
Right.
I would, if I was to say contractually, maybe they needed to have 10 songs and they just threw something on.
Right. Yeah, that's where I feel it's more of the quantity over quality. That factor is where it goes for toss, because I like how bands like to have 8 songs, and when I read the track list, I feel, oh no, why only 8? But when I listen to the album, I feel they knew they have a clear view on their vision, and that's exactly where I feel that he might have written Dark or even the other one just for the sake of completing the 10 songs.
Yeah.
So
Just so everybody
been
knows,
avoided.
yeah. Just so everybody knows that bands have contracts with record companies, and the record companies say, you know, they quantify 8 songs as an EP versus a 10-track album as a long play album. So there are different contracts out there, and heads up to everybody that sometimes you have to put more than 10 songs on an album to consider it an album to fulfill your contractual obligations. I'm not sure if this is the case here. I'm just speculating.
I think Silver Lining is his own label. This is my understanding.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I don't think he has any of that concerns. Maybe he felt that, okay, let's put in something and we'll see how fans are going to receive it.
True that. So here we go. Last track on the album. And I just want to, actually, before we talk about that, you talked about a very important point. You see, as for me, I rather have 8 songs like you on an album and then cut the shit off, right?
Exactly.
Just have...
You got to cut the fat. I mean, I'll give you an example. The new Decapitated album, which came out in June or July, only 7 tracks.
Yeah.
And everything right from the first second till the end of 31 minutes, perfect. No bullshit. No extra build-ups. Nothing. What exactly fans want to hear, it's right there on the album. And that's what I like. I don't want people to write 10 songs worth 55 minutes and then have that huge build-ups and unnecessary synth being introduced. I don't like that. So, like I said, quality.
And we're talking about we're 2 reviewers here, so all you bands out there, guys, it's quality over quantity. That's what we're trying to say. And the reason why the 80s there were so many loved albums in the 80s and they received such high ratings is because they had vinyl back then, so they could only put 8 or 9 tracks on an album. So they put their very best songs that they've been working on all year. Take any Rush album, you know, in the 80s and early 90s or 70s, they just put 7 or 8 songs. That's it. And that's what made a great album, because you concentrated just on those songs and nothing else. And then the CDs came out and everybody was putting like friggin' hours of music that, you know, just to fill things up. And it reduces the rating. Like when you have 8 solid tracks, you get like a 9 out of 10. But when you have 15 tracks with 3 of them being duds, you've just lowered your rating, your overall rating on the album because of the quantity. Anyways, I don't want to get too much into that. Let's go into the last track. Not All There. What would you say about Not All There?
A pretty good track. I feel, although I don't feel that it should have been the last track on the album, you know?
Okay.
I feel something like, let's say something like the Altering. The Alter could have been the perfect conclusion to the album. But nevertheless, a pretty interesting track from Annihilator. I like how Jeff is trying to, write some riffs which are... to an extent, I haven't heard them on Suicide Society or even on Feast or even the albums before that. I think he spent a lot of time on riffs. In fact, it reminds me of one of the statements which he said a couple of weeks ago, that I had written 150 riffs in a year, and at the end of the year, when I sat with Rich, I removed 149 and took only 1.
Yeah.
So I like that part. I mean, the guy is honest about stuff. So again, it's about one's perception, how they see this track, whether they like the riffs in this, and whether this is a perfect conclusion for the album. That can be debated.
Yeah. If you think of Set the World on Fire, the song itself with the funky guitar work, then you would think of this song, because it's got some funky bass work and funky guitar work right in the middle. It's a very prog, hard rock, metal-ish kind of track. A lot of time changes. And yeah, it's kind of weird how it ends with that, but it is a great song nevertheless. Maybe the track listing, like you said, should be changed up a little bit, but whatever. I mean, it's a great track. To me, it's definitely, like, as a song, 9 out of 10. And it's excellent. You know, it's just an excellent track. And yeah, I like it. So, overall rating of this album. So, Metal Wani gave it, like, I think 8.5 out of 10.
Yeah.
You still hold to that?
That was my writer's perspective, even though we both had common thoughts regarding this, but I would still rate it at 8 out of 10. Okay. Because I feel Jeff is highly inspired at this point of time. I've not seen him, the inspiration level which he has right now. I've not heard that from Jeff, maybe from last 5 years. So I like that. And I feel some of the tracks, Twisted Lobotomy, Altering the Altar, and Phantom Asylum, I feel they're one of the best songs which he has written in more than a decade. Let me put it that way.
Yeah.
So I like it. that
Cool.
he's written some of the great songs. And once again, I feel he just comes out of that too much of inspiration zone.
I would definitely put this album very similar to what your writer did, maybe between an 8.4 and 8.5 out of 10. Is it as strong as Neverland, and is it strong as Alice in Hell? You're never going to top these albums. It's like topping Kill 'Em All and Master of Puppets. But it definitely falls right after that. You know, I would say, you know, the first three albums maybe as the best out of the four, right? Right after, I mean, sorry. Definitely for me, between 8 to 8.5 out of 10, a strong album, very much worth picking up. Definitely.
Absolutely.
And you know what? And you've touched on this too. It's got a lot of, you know what? It's a different album. It's kind of like comparing 2112 to Rush with Moving Pictures. Two great albums, but two completely different genres and styles. And again, the beauty of Jeff Waters' writing style is he touches on different elements. It's not going to sound, it's going to have maybe a vibe of the first three albums, but it's not going to sound like the first three albums. And it does have a vibe of Suicide Society, but it doesn't sound like Suicide Society. And
to add to that, fans who were put off because of Suicide Society definitely will be happy with this album. I feel Jeff promised that this is going to be a sort of a return to the glory days.
Yes.
But I would say he has not come completely to it, but he has attempted to do that. And there are songs on this album which clearly reflect it. So gotta give it to him, man. I mean, I'm sure fans who were disappointed with the last album will be happy with this, if not. So this is my, I
think also people are getting this perception that this is going to be an all-out 10 tracks of thrash.
Exactly. That was because of Twisted Lobotomy.
Yeah.
And that's where I felt that he should have released that song first, which is cool. And the next song should have been completely outside the thrash zone to give a fan's idea that this album does have thrash, but I'm also doing something else. And now this is sort of a built an entire, the expectations that, we're going to have like 10 songs of thrash once again. But that's if fans have that in mind, they're going to be disappointed. So I really expect fans to go on with open ears and just be more diverse and expect Jeff Waters to exploit whatever he has done from past couple of decades.
I would also, again, I said this before, the guitar soloing on this album is incredible. Jeff has, and you think 16 albums of playing solos. This guy's still coming in fresh. He's knocking it out of the park. Guitar is 10 out of 10 on this album. The guy, and you know what, kudos to his band too. And I said this before, and I'll just name them. So Aaron Homa, rhythm guitar, live in concert. I'm not sure if he's playing anything on the album. Probably not. The guy is brilliant live. Rich Hinks on bass, who also co-produced and co-wrote some of the tracks on this album. Incredible. Right. And Fabio, who looks like a little kid, right? But this guy's a beast on the drums. Man. And you're a drummer. You're a drummer. What do you think about the drumming?
Absolutely. He's nailed his parts precisely, and it's effortless. And I've seen some of the the live videos that have come out. He plays it effortless, and I like that because a drummer shouldn't, just for the sake of pacing up, shouldn't struggle. And the guy is very young, energetic, and some of the parts on this. There's one song which has a lot of progressive metal elements, so time signatures, and he's adapted that smoothly, and I like that flow in his drum lines. Really good sign for Jeff Waters to not let this guy go for whatever reason. He should be on stage. He should be carried out for the next possible years with Annihilator.
All right, so let's summarize. Okay, so Metal Wani, your journalist, he gave it an 8.5 out of 10. That's metalwani.com. You give it an 8 out of 10. I give it between an 8 to 8.5 out of 10. I'm somewhere in the middle between you guys. Maybe an 8.3, maybe an 8.4. I'm around there, hovering around there. So definitely pick this up, especially if you're a hardcore Annihilator fan. You will not be disappointed. If you love the last album, if you love his guitar work, for all you guitarists out there, a must. Okay, let's end off with this. Your favorite Annihilator album and why? Let's say your top 3 Annihilator albums. What are your favorites?
I think it's still Alice, man. I still love that album. It's got, I don't know, I mean, there's an element of Jeff Waters which at that time the expectations were not sky high, and the guy was not, he knew that he has to do stuff, he has to write memorable songs, and he's done that. And the beauty is with that 80s vibe that's present in those records and how the scene was that time, it clearly justified And that's why we still listen to the album. We still have good memories of that album. It's because of the era, the expectations, which probably I feel Jeff at that time didn't even give a shit about expectations. And he had no fear in his heart. And he's done that with that record. And I still am a guy who listens to first three Annihilator albums. But Alice, close to my heart.
It's a thrash sound, I believe. So what I did is I have it in front of me. You can't see it. But I have the Alice in Hell and Never Neverland CD. It's a remaster. To me, those two albums, I play these two albums, and one day I feel like Alice is better. The other day I feel like Never Neverland's the better one. Yeah, I changed.
I get it, man.
Maybe the clean vocals on Never Neverland kind of turned me off a bit. But holy shit, the guitar work and the songs are incredible on Neverland.
Incredible.
And Rampage's vocals on Alice in Hell. I also have in front of me Schizo Deluxe, which I think is really great Dave Patton album. I also have in front of me Suicide Society, which I personally think is still a great album. I don't know, I just love his songwriting. I always have a pleasure. And I also have a album we were talking about before. It's Feast. And Dave Patton, man. What a great album. Very underrated. And just going to the comments before we close off. So the Wheeled Headbanger, he says, I'm going to review this album as soon as it comes out. Tom, Allison Feast, he says, and Tom says, Mike Harshaw, who was the former drummer of Annihilator, he says, of course, he was one of the best drummers he's ever had, and I agree with that too. Pablo saying it's a classic. I guess they're talking about, now they're talking about Creator in the chats. Ken Tan is saying, I bought a lot of thrash albums after your review. So that was, nice. I think he's referring to Creator. So I think. Can't be this because it's not out yet. What else we got? And Tom's saying, got a lot of other stuff. Ken also said, I'm a big Bon Jovi fan, but I also like thrash metal, so I really like your reviews. So that's very cool, nice. Ken. That's cool. Any last closing words there, Vitek? Thanks for being on. So everybody, metalwani.com. Vitek is the boss. The sauce boss in there in India. Metal in India, buddy. What's going on? Tell me about your Metal Wani and just, plug it before we get off.
Well, we've been killing it for years now, and now I believe we're making history every day, like I said, Jimmy.
We've just made history right now.
Exactly. So, yeah, things are going good, man. All the viewers who are there, check us out if you haven't. I'm sure, some way or the other on social media, you would have come across us knowingly or unknowingly. But yeah, we've been doing good. And so just keep supporting the artists and give them a chance. Don't just directly go berserk. Sometimes artists do have to look into other directions to satisfy their creative needs. So be open to music and always support your artists by going, and seeing them live, buying tickets and buying CDs. And I don't have a vinyl. I'm not a vinyl collector like Jimmy, but I'm a digital guy. I believe in iTunes and Spotify.
That's good. That's good.
Having CDs. But yeah, I'm in India, so I have a problem with getting physical copies here. Yeah. Other than that, we're good.
All right. Well, you know what? One thing we share, and I tell everybody this who's on the Metal Voice, usually people who are on the Metal Voice are people like myself, like-minded in character. Like, we're hardworking. We love music as a passion. And you're one of those guys. What we do is a little bit different. You're more of the digital media. We'll call it the print, the digital print. I'm more of the YouTubing. I mean, there is a lot of overlapping there. But one thing we do have that's in common is our love for music, and our hard work at what we do. We're consistent.
Absolutely.
We started around the same time. We're consistent in what we do. And everybody on this show, I'll tell you, Vitek, is hardworking people. There's no slackers on this show.
Indeed.
And you're one of them, buddy. All right, man. Thanks for being on. We'll talk soon, okay?
Take care.